So my name is Hazel Gashoka, and I'm a first year's master's student at Wilfrid Laurier. I'm doing my master's in community psychology. However, prior to that, I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Ottawa. So I'm very familiar with the Student Appeal Center November 2008 report, where they say that the university practices institutionalized racism on our campus. And I'm also familiar with the report, the response to that report from Professor Joanne St. Louis, in which she said, and I'll quickly paraphrase what she said, but she said she pretty much said that there is no, in her opinion, that there's methodological errors in the report, and so based on that report, we can't conclude that there's institutionalized racism at the university. And she also just said that she has no idea whether it exists or not. But she did spend several pages in her report bashing the November 2008 report by the Student Appeal Center. So anyway, I'd just also like to say that after reading her report and the Student Appeal Center report, I felt perturbed. So what I did was I contacted Joanne St. Louis, and I myself, because I'm a stakeholder, as you could see, a person of color, and as a stakeholder, I thought that this is something that needs to be addressed. We need to discuss this, and I tried several times to contact her, just because I wanted to really understand what was going on and why she said what she had said, and why she completely diminished the stories that were represented within the Student Appeal Center report. I emailed her about a dozen times, and she just did not meet with me. At times she didn't respond to my email. At other times she said she was on sabbatical, but she just never met with me whatsoever, which led me to believe that she wasn't interested. And then I also heard about a blog post by Professor Denis Rancourt, whereby he said that this Professor St. Louis, was acting as Alan Rock's house Negro. Now, I know the initial knee-jerk reaction from some people of color was, wow, how dare this professor say this? But I think we need to stop and think. I think we need to stop just looking at the surface, and we really need to see things for what they are. Because, in my opinion, I would say that Joanne St. Louis acted as Alan Rock's house Negro. I do agree with that statement, and I do think that that it is okay that a white man made that statement. Because, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So why I think it's okay, or why I think it's appropriate, is because if you look at the definition of what a house Negro is, Joanne St. Louis met the terms that characterize that definition as told by Malcolm X. So what it was is that she, as a black collaborator, was working with the master, right, to literally to pull the wool over the eyes of the people of color, to satisfy them and tell them. So as a representative of the community, she was there to tell them that, no, this is not the case. Everything is fine and dandy, which is what house Negroes do. That is their purpose. That is their job. They are the collaborators with the master, to make sure that the wool stays over the eyes of the blacks in the field, the field Negroes, right? That's how you control the field Negroes. And so that is what she did. And I would also encourage people to read her report and read what she had said. And so that's the first point that I wanted to make. The second point, I think that it is important that, or not important, but I think that, Denis Rancourt was okay to say that, because if you look at it for what it is, you're overlooking the fact that, there's so many people of color who are on our campuses at the University of Ottawa and who are suffering day to day. And what I would argue is that Denis Rancourt took more of an anti-racist approach than did Professor Joanne St. Louis as a black professor, because his approach was to expose the university for their corruption and their systemic racism and say, look, you know, you guys are a racist institution, you know, this is what you've been doing, these are your practices, and forcing them to acknowledge that. So I think that is more of an anti-racist approach, although it's done by a white man, as opposed to this black professor who purports to be an anti-racist activist. But I won't get into that. But yeah, so she what she did was she made sure that the wheels stay in motion, that people are just blindsided because they have a black face that says, okay, you know, it's okay, there is no racism on our campus, it's fine. That's essentially what she did. And as a black face, you know, you feel much more comfortable hearing that from her because she's reassuring the masses that no, it's fine, you know, everything's working well, when in fact it's not.